Welcome to this episode of the Hooked Pod.
I'm Chunk.
And I'm the Chippy. And in this episode, we are talking to Peter Westerberg, who is an Albany local here in Western Australia, and he's from a bit of a famous fishing family down this way. Even us in Perth, we used to hear about the Westerbergs and boats that they build down here. But Peter's a fisherman and has fished for most of his life, I believe. Welcome to the podcast, Pete.
Yep, thanks, Chippy. Yep, 50 years I've been fishing, and the whole family's done it for about, I think I'm about the fourth generation. So,
Really?
Yeah, we've got a bit of history there.
So tell me where the Westerbergs came from.
Well, Hugo was the original Westerberg. Charles is his first name, and he came from Sweden.
Wow.
Well, the story goes that at 13 years old, he was one of 7 kids, and he was told by his parents that he was going to be a Lutheran priest.
Wow.
At 13 years of age, he said, stuff that, and he just got up, got his little bag, and off he went, just walked off.
You probably would, wouldn't you?
Oh, you'd
fled
have to.
the country.
You'd have no choice, Jesus. Oh, there you go, Jesus. A bit of religious connotation there. But so he got on a square rigger, big square rigger, and just spent...
Adventure.
Yeah, probably 20 years of his life, travelling around the world. And he ended up in Albany, and
wow, little old Albany, all the way over here.
Yeah. And he started the family, and on the 4th generation, there's another generation after me and another one. So there's basically 6 generations,
Wow.
So do you have siblings here in Albany?
Yeah, I've got an older brother, 2 older brothers, Colin and Greg. Greg's the oldest, and Colin's...
And have they been in the fishing industry?
No. Dad was the only one that didn't go commercial. He went carpenter and builder. And we did a lot of amateur fishing, because his dad was a stevedore come fisherman.
Yep.
In the old days, that was Vic. And
It's a great place for wreck fishing down here.
Yeah. Dad used to drag us off and make his own boats, build them, and you can't do that these days. That's all rules and regulations. But
That's right.
So he dragged us off every weekend, and off we'd go, catch white and pike and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, we had a really, really good life.
So because you weren't born into the fishing from your father or anything like that, how did you get into professional fishing?
Obviously went through school and that. Then I played a bit of sport when I was young, and I went to Perth for about 18 months, but I ended up hating it. So I left there and basically came back to Albany, and I was a mad keen surfer. That was the ocean, and it sort of just followed on from there. Then I got on a little shark boat, Dave's Palfrey's boat, you know, and that started the journey basically, and I've been there ever since.
You started loving it.
Sometimes it's pretty hard, but in general, all that sort of stuff, it's great. Yeah.
And these days in Albany, you're a pilchard fisherman. How long have you been doing that for?
I reckon 35 years.
Wow.
36 years.
And a bit of tuna fishing before that?
Yeah, we started as a deckhand. It was a shark boat. I think we ran 1,700 hooks on a fixed gear. I was seasick every day. Every
Were
day.
you really?
Seasick as a fisherman?
Yeah, the first 2 years, because you used to have smelly herring all cut up, and you used to have to sit there with your head down with the diesel fumes and out in the ocean just baiting 1,700 hooks.
Yeah.
I used to get to the 14th box. We had 17 boxes, and that was the end of that.
Someone else take over, please?
No, just kept going through and sat on the edge of the boat and set it, then I'd come good. Yeah, so, and he did a bit of tuna fishing too, so that started me off, and then we were down at Esperance fishing, and I was still with Graham Augustin was the guy's name, and I was told that I had 2 days off, and so as a young bloke you go to the pub and
go surfing?
No, just went to the pub. We just went to the pub.
Just went to the pub.
Because it's pretty hard work, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rested your legs for a couple of days.
That's right, but at the end of that, about halfway through that first night, he decided he wanted to go fishing, and I was pretty terpsed up. And he walked in and tried to drag me out of the pub, and I said, no, thanks. So basically, it's the only time I've ever been sacked, so I got sacked, and I got straight into the car, towed the caravan back to Albany, and then went straight to Perth and bought my first boat. Yeah.
Wow.
I think it was about 23, 24.
A few years ago?
Yeah, went tuna fishing.
Yeah.
And what was that like, tuna fishing compared to shark fishing?
Oh, tuna fishing was much better.
Yep.
It wasn't as hard work, really.
And did you, tuna fishing, is that caught like with lures off the side of the boat? Or?
We used to pole them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there was none of this baiting up 1,700 hooks or anything like that?
No. wasn't a 12-hour boring day, or not boring, but hard. That was really hard.
Yeah.
It was a lure of some form, the pole one.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was like
No bait?
yeah, we had bait.
Yeah.
And it's a funny thing. I catch the bait that we used to use now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the worms turned,
Yeah.
But you used to just go along the shelf and inshore around lumps and that and find the patches of tuna and then just jump in the rack and start poling them.
Yeah.
And depending on how hungry they were, you'd use a bait on a barbless hook and then you had a de-racker so they'd fall down and you push the pole back and the tuna would fall off and on.
So how many did you have on the boat with a pole in their hand?
Oh, well, it's only me and the decky. But the really exciting part of when they really got hungry and that, you could use a whitey, which was a little lure,
Yeah.
and pole them. And then we used to call it the plug pole. It was a little pole, and you had sort of like a heavy trout lure on it with feathers.
Yep.
And you just used that, and that
Wow.
was fantastic. So you used to get fish on quick.
What's the most you've ever caught in like the one session?
Because I only had a small boat, 4
Yeah.
ton would fill us, and we'd sort of head home. But then I ended up skippering a bigger boat for a guy,
Yeah.
and I think it was about 8 or 9 ton or 10 ton.
Yeah.
It was when in the real scheme of things, it's only a small industry,
Yeah.
So, but that was really good fun.
Yeah. Still a lot of fish though.
Mm.
How did you get into what you do now, pilchard fishing?
Well, the quotas came in
Yep.
for
tuna.
tuna, and basically they gave us a quota that you couldn't survive on.
Yep.
So
You had to
I
find
think
options.
you-
And are
elsewhere.
they a bluefin tuna?
Bluefin,
Yeah,
southern
yeah.
bluefin, yeah.
Yeah.
So I basically sold my quota because I couldn't afford to stay, and with the money I got from, I was very lucky. I had enough to buy a house. No one was more surprised than my mum and dad, because I was a bit of a lad when I was
And
younger.
you'd brought
Yeah.
a house
And I
out of
thought-
fishing, yep.
Yeah, and I thought, well, this only happens once in your life. So I bought a house and basically never had a mortgage, and
Wow.
that's just been a godsend,
So after that, and you got into pilchard fishing, you had to buy a different boat for pilchard fishing?
Yeah, basically. And we started off small because the first time I started pilchard fishing, I always went into a fishery, eyes open. You'd go and get a job on the boat to figure it out. I wouldn't go in just all
Guns
guns
are blazing,
blazing.
money blazing,
No,
yeah.
because
Do your apprenticeship, so to speak.
yeah, and you can really, there's some pitfalls, and there's a lot of pitfalls. So another sensible thing I did, which Mum and Dad were very surprised about, and I just surprised my mum and dad all the time.
Good on you. Well done.
Anyway, God bless them. So I did that, and then I went and bought another boat and went into the pilchard fishery.
And that hasn't been all plain sailing, has it?
No.
You did tell me recently about the pilchard virus. It was a Hermes virus
Herpes, yeah.
back in 1997, 1998. How did you guys know about that?
It started there, went east, and then it came west, and it was skipping like 40 kilometres a day. How it did it, I got no idea.
Oh, that's how quick
Yeah.
the virus
It
was
was
spreading.
spreading.
It
yeah.
was just
Wow.
skipping, and we thought, basically did the emu or the ostrich thing and just stuck my head in the sand and hoped nothing was going to happen. And then finally, I can always remember at Breaksea Island out off Albany, I did a shot. Well, I set the net. It's a purse seine net, and we had a couple of ton in the net, and then you see them just popping up in the net, just dying.
Yeah.
And that was because the herpes virus got on their gills and it basically suffocated them.
Yeah. Couldn't breathe.
But it went right round to the extremities of the fishery, which was up past the Queensland border a bit, Carnarvon way, and
Yep.
it went over to New Zealand.
Wow.
And they reckon, well, someone was telling us that it was the biggest fish kill in the history of the.
Yeah, that's a
Wow.
massive.
Mm.
And did you have any idea, Pete, of how long it might last? Did anybody know?
Well, I did one shot, and I can remember that, in close to Albany, and something in my head said, that's the last time you're going to be doing this.
Yep.
And we took, I think it was about 800 kilo or something, it's only a small shot in. And that was the end of it, and we just got shut down because of what was going on, obviously.
And did that ruin a lot of people? Was there many people pilchard fishing then and they're not now?
So when I started, it was 32 small boats.
What's a small boat like? 30
Some of them were
foot?
28 foot. Some,
Yeah.
the big boat was 40 foot. And there was a lot of fish around, There was no competition from east of us.
I remember growing up in Perth and we fished a lot, and that's all we ever used to use, pilchards.
Yeah.
I mean, they must have been used in, so much bait everywhere.
But that's changing. There's a really big push because they're, one of the best fish in the ocean, health-wise.
Oil, yeah.
And even the bones. The bones are even better than the fish if you wanted to get into the nuts and bolts of the, omegas and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
And we just eat them whole. They're beautiful. Yeah.
What's changed in your fishery now over the years with quotas and things like that? Has there been much change since the virus?
Yeah. In 98, I woke up and didn't have a business. My wife, she was a teacher, so that helped.
Yeah, I think you told me you went truck driving.
Yeah, I went, a couple of friends I went through school and played cricket against. They got Camtrans, which is a freight company in Albany, and I had a C-class licence. And they said, we need another driver. So I did a run out to the airport and back, and they said, yep, you start tomorrow. And
That'll do.
4 years driving to Perth and back with General Freight.
So you obviously changed careers for a while. And
Yep.
And then how did you get back into it? Did it take long for the fishery to recover?
I was lucky enough, when it restarted, it was about 4 or 5 years later, but it only started on a very low point,
Yes.
like just to see how it would go, see how they'd recovered.
Did many people jump back in at that time?
Well, not really. A guy called Greg Sharp, he had a boat. He actually bought the boat and he was getting back into it, but he also had a crab boat. So he was running that and he needed a skipper for the small. And I said, I'll
Help out?
yeah, if you want me to. We started that. I did that for a while and then we sort of formed a partnership and then he decided he wanted to go by himself again, which was fair enough. So we split up and I kept the boat and paid out. And we went and off in our own directions.
Yeah.
But in the sardine fishery.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And you've been doing that ever since?
Yeah, and it's the quota, the fish recovered. And
Yep.
yeah, so they're an amazing thing, the sardine, all those small pelagic fish. They've got this wonderful knack. Sardines and the small mackerels have got this wonderful ability because they're the low in the food chain.
Yep.
Somehow or other they understand if there's too many of them or vice versa. So if there's too many, they might spawn once a year.
Wow.
And what they call the fecundity rate, which is the number of eggs in the ovaries of the females,
Really?
is reduced. So, just for a number, they might have one egg,
Yep.
when there's stock's plentiful.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. If there's no, they might have 1,000 eggs.
Wow.
Okay.
So they can recover very quickly.
And there are 8 years is their tenure.
Yep.
So they just churn it over. And so when they're under stress, they just
Breed.
spawn all year round and
Yep.
breed with heaps of eggs. Yeah. So,
Wow.
That's nature.
yeah. Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah, fantastic.
yeah.
It certainly keeps the fishery going,
well,
doesn't it?
How do they know? You don't know the reason why.
No,
No,
it's
just a fact.
nature's way.
He probably hasn't been able to ask one of them yet. They're too fast.
You haven't eaten enough of them.
yeah, that's right. That's
So any tales from out on the water, mate, over all those years out on the water?
Tails. Oh, God. Actually, the first day I actually started commercial fishing I would have been 20 and got a job with Dave. Chippy knows the guy, Dave Palfrey. He owns Dolphin Lodge.
Good neighbour of ours.
Yeah, on his little shark boat. And used to pull a shark net 1,200 metres by hand. Because he was too much of a cheapskate to get any hydraulics. You'd understand that, wouldn't you?
No winch.
Yeah. I was the winch.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we went out and we set the net at a place called the Passage Reefs, which is out off Tor Bay. We go there the next day and we're pulling this net up and it was struggling, and we've got to do big circles to get the momentum to get. And we ended up, this is in the day when it was okay, with a giant bloody white pointer in the net. And
On your first gig.
on my first day, I couldn't believe it. And I'm looking over and Dave stutters and he's basically saying,
Can
wow,
we get a bigger boat, please?
That's right, yeah.
I need some assistance here, boss.
But
Get off your captain's seat.
Yeah, get off your ass, Dave. we measured it from the tip of the nose because it was dead,
Yeah.
and we took it into the Torbay moorings, and so tip of the tail to the V of the tail was 17 feet 11.
Wow.
You know, not including the tail, whatever that was, but
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
massive. Anyway, the next day we went out, it was all tied up alongside, and you could actually cut the jaws out in those days. This is way back in the day. And so Dave gives me what we used to use hand shear. We used to split them in half and then use them to gut and gill the shark.
Yep.
And he gave me that knife and he said, cut the head off. And I looked at it and I went, look, you've seen the size of this thing? It was like a cow. Anyway, so being a silly little bugger, I started cutting and I cut through the rope holding its head up.
Oh,
So its tail was at the back of the boat and it was a deep mooring, so it just sagged down and its head, you know. So I had to, and I fluff the story up sometimes with other people, but had to jump over the side, swim down alongside it to put a rope around its head.
Yep.
And I can always remember the size of the eye, you know, and it's all its teeth out. And it was, yeah.
What's the funniest thing you've got in a net?
The funniest thing, probably a human.
You told me a while.
One of me deckies. I had a
So
deckie.
it was a live human.
Yeah, it was a live human. Yeah,
you had to drag him to work that day.
yeah.
The only problem was it wasn't that smart by the sound of it.
No, he threw the boys over. When we shoot the net, you yell out, throw the boys over, and the boat
We
lurched.
threw the boy over, all right?
And he went with it.
No.
Yeah. So I had to, the option was to complete the circle and pick him up, or so we decided, because there was another deckie on board, and we picked
We
him
only
up.
need one.
Yeah,
Only need one to do the job.
Yeah, that's about the.
What, do you have a rope around his leg or something? Did you?
No, there's just the action of the boat.
Yeah,
you
he
know.
just went over into it.
And another guy came out, and he was just a visitor, and we were down Two People Bay. It's a place called Caffin Island. Now that is Shark Alley down there.
That is, yeah.
And we were throwing pollard in those days to get the sardines fishing, and we had a couple of tons just eating on the, they spraying and carrying on in this pollard. And this guy said, I want to do it, this Decky's mate. So he's gone heave-ho with the pollard to throw it up in the air. And as he's throwing it up in the air, the boat's disappeared from under him, and he's gone straight over,
Oh,
landed in the school of fish, and all I could see was this head sticking out of the school of fish, and they're spraying and they yeah, we got him back. Yeah,
You fished him out?
Yeah, he was a bit worse for wear, but we got him back.
That was obviously a long time ago.
yeah, it's a
Peter.
long time ago.
Yeah.
But that happens down here, doesn't it? I mean, the Southern Ocean, and that's not a really calm place to go fishing.
No,
is it?
but it's a lovely place. I go up in Marine Drive and look out and just think, how lucky am I? That's my office, and
It's obviously it's not easy because of all the boat and everything you got to do to go fishing. But it's an easier life than the old shark fishing. And, putting hooks on, and obviously you now been in the industry for so long, you have got a guy on the back of the boat and you're skippering, and so it's must be a pretty good lifestyle, and you've made it better for yourself, obviously. Over the
it's just
years.
a matter of hanging in, getting through the good time. You're never going to. The graph doesn't go up all the time.
No.
Any person, you could be in any industry. You get the
Absolutely.
ups and downs.
Ups and downs.
But I've got to say that I was extremely lucky in the fact that probably nearly 20 years ago, this bloke turned up that he was a Japanese longline mate and all that sort of stuff. He worked on them, for 6-7 years. And he came and did a bit of tuna in Albany when they were doing long-lining tuna, skipper in a boat.
Yep.
And that all fell through, and next thing, he's on the boat. And Glenn's been with us 19 years.
Wow.
Fantastic.
And me and Jan, we often talk about it. We just owe him so much.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you always have problems with the third deck. If you've got the second deckhand that's consistent and that you can, at a pinch, operate two-handed.
You can get
Yeah.
by. Yeah.
And Glenn's always been there. He's
It's good having a
he's
2IC.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's been fantastic for us.
They're the people you've got to look after and try and keep them as long as you can.
Yep.
Any other fishing stories for us, mate?
I only had a 36-foot boat. We used to fish from Albany, west of Albany, right through to probably 130 miles east of Esperance in a 36-foot boat.
Wow.
and I used to do 7 knots flat out.
Really?
You know, it used to take us forever to get anywhere. And I had Watto was my decky, my mate, and we used to, it was just the frontier stuff. So you're that far out that when it got rough, you basically just shut the motors down and rolled around out in the middle of the ocean,
Really?
until the weather settled down and off you went again.
Because the motors weren't strong
Well,
enough.
you didn't have enough fuel, for one thing, to keep going in and out, that sort of thing. This day we were going, it's a place called Dillon Bay, and going in a little boat harbour to anchor
Near
up.
Bremer, yeah?
Yep, near Bremer. So we're going across the bay. We're a bit low because we got our freezers full, so we just wanted to get a bit of a deck load. So I go down the back and hang in a slash, basically, and next thing this orca comes along, a big male orca, and this giant dorsal fin's leaning over, and basically pissed on a orca's dorsal fin, and I survived. So I don't think there's too many people in the world who've done that.
No.
But then you just watch them. And
Well, there wouldn't be many who'd tell the story anyway, I reckon, mate.
yeah. But we just watched them.
That's unique.
There was a pod of them, and the little boat had twin screws on it, and they just followed us, and they were just watching the propellers go around.
Yeah.
They just see them roll around, and that was quite an amazing experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to go to the Bremer Cannons to see an orca, mate.
No.
And what's the fishing fleet sort of in all sorts of fishing down here compared to 30 or 40 years ago?
It's decimated. Like,
is it?
Yeah, like in the sardine fishery, we got basically 3 boats.
Yeah, well, they got. Yeah, obviously that was a massive issue 20 years ago.
But they're bigger boats.
Yeah,
so you bring more in, it's sort of thing. But the tuna industry's basically that's gone. They've put a lot of went to the fisheries department, whether they're right or wrong, it's a conjecture, but they've put a lot of restrictions on the shark fishing, as you'd know.
Lots of quota issues and that because they want people to catch less to leave more for later on, that sort of thing.
The amateur sector has grown massively.
Yeah.
More technology.
Yeah, I'm not getting in that fight. That's just sort of thing. So there's a lot of pressure like that being put on.
Yeah. Boats are getting bigger for recce's and easier to catch fish.
I'm a believer in the ocean's very resilient.
Yep.
Given time, it just recovers.
It is a great place down here because we don't have a huge population down here compared to a lot of places around Australia. Even though there's a lot of people in Albany who fish, there is a lot of water down here. There is a lot of coastline and it's pristine.
Oh, it's beautiful
coastline, isn't it? It's, since we've come 9 years ago, we just love the place, and there's plenty of places you can still go down here and not see anyone, or go out in a boat and not see another boat, and I think
you want to keep that one quiet.
Yeah, we won't tell anyone about that.
That's right.
But coming from I lived in a city for 50 years in 2 million people in Perth. But down here, it's just fantastic. Hopefully, it all stays this way, and hopefully, fishing stays for many, many years to come.
Well, I'm a firm believer, like the sardine fishery. Like we catch 3% or 4% of the allowable biomass.
Yep.
And the sustainable yield's about 13-14%.
Wow.
So we're way under.
Fantastic.
So it's going to last forever.
Whereabouts do your sardines go? Do they mainly go for bait, or there's
at the moment
restaurants and that?
Well, they're starting to pick up.
Yep.
Yep. Like I sell to Gary Bevan and the Bevans and Bates.
He's a processor down here.
Yeah. But he fillets them. He's got a fillet machine out there.
I don't think I'd want to do them by knife.
No. No. It would take you.
Here's a couple
A King George Whiting small enough, mate.
8 ton of sardines.
Oh,
see you next month.
Is it still a big bait?
Yeah.
Because we used to buy the old 5 kilo blocks, I think, and
they're 2 kilo now.
2 kilo blocks.
Used to be they're hard work on the boat doing them. So you can get IQF which is the individual.
Yeah. Like 1 kilo bags and that sort of thing.
And they're a lot easier for us on the boat.
Yeah,
a lot easier. You actually lose deckies when we do trade. Not lose deckies physically, but they just can't handle it.
You freeze them on the boat?
No, just sort them.
Oh, sorting them.
You got to tray them up and do all sorts. And we do 270, 280 trays, and then you got to
into sizes. You mean?
No, just in the trays, and then you got to open the box up on the way home and then sort them all.
Yep.
every tray and restack them.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then when you get in and you got to stack them on the back of the truck, and
Yeah.
so there's a lot of work involved.
Yeah, a lot of processes, isn't there?
Whereas the other way, it's just picked 600 kilo up in a big Zactic bin, we call them, all ice down.
Yeah.
Off they go. Yeah.
Oh, it's good that industry's still going.
Yeah, they're in demand. The fridges are full now. No, not fridges. They're empty now. Every year they empty it out because when you're going flat out, you store them.
Yep.
And then sell some, but then you store the rest, and they're always gone.
Yep.
Always gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you like eating, Pete? Recommend us a dish to eat.
Like in a seafood dish.
Any dish.
I love your shark.
Do you?
I do.
When I've got it.
Yeah. Bronzy.
How do you eat it? Just fried, batter?
I breadcrumb them at home.
Oh, yeah.
Just breadcrumb and just fry them, basically.
Yeah.
But no, your shop sort of does a good job, mate.
Oh, no. Well, we need more fish. Hopefully the fishing industry down here does stay strong and people want to stay in. It's getting younger people also trying to get into it.
Yeah, that's the hard thing.
And, I mean, you don't fish every day too, so that's hard to have people get like a full-time job. You can't really do it being a decky, can you?
Well, you can if restrictions would allow you to. The crew, they make pretty good money. Well, I think it's pretty good money on the sardine boat, but they've got to understand that it's a 12-month thing. So probably 4 months of the year that's like swimming in money, and then...
It's like the crayfish industry sort of thing, And then you have a rest for a few months, So you need to save your money.
That's right. It's funny that, isn't it, how that works? Yeah.
When you're getting inundated with money, you're not out buying flash cars and things like that. You've got to save it.
Easy to do as a young
And I think
fella.
that is a bit of an issue with I talk to guys now down here, and deckies are very difficult to get because, they're not fishing all the time. And how long are you going to be fishing for, Pete?
How long's a piece of string? I guess I don't know.
You still enjoy it?
I enjoy it. Yeah, I love it.
All right. Thanks, mate. Thanks for coming in and talking to us, and we got a lot of knowledge out of that.
Yeah.
Well,
us newbies to this area.
As long as I didn't bore you to death, that's all.
You certainly didn't do that.
It's good fun.
Great to hear from you. Thanks.
Good on you. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Pete.
Cheers, Pete.
Okay, thank you.